Hey guys, so how about I make a video where you guys are here while I cook dinner? And surprise, surprise, what am I making? A Filipino dish again. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm just peeling garlic right now. I always tend to be eating Filipino food or talking about Filipino food or Filipinos when I'm on here, but I am making Filipino adobo. It's dry adobo, and I'm making it in the style of my friend Rachel. She's the one that taught me, so I'm using her method, but I'm kind of like, I kind of adapted it a little bit to just the way I like it. But it literally, I literally put so much garlic in here, it's ridiculous how much garlic I put. I just lost a clove. Oh, there we go. I literally put like almost 2 heads of garlic in here, but also I'm using a lot of pork today. I'm making pork adobo. I had a pork roast out I took a pork roast out of my freezer so that I could make pulled pork when my mom was down. But then we just didn't get around to it, so I need to use this pork roast. It was already on reduced. I already bought it like on sale because it was like ready to go. And I froze it, of course, but I need to use it up. And then we also had some pork tenderloins taken out for my mom, but then we didn't end up making her dish either. So I have like 2 things of pork to use, and that's a lot of pork. So it's going to be probably a double batch, but I can freeze some of it. So adobo is pieces of some kind of meat, and then it's cooked in a sauce that's kind of salty, kind of a little bit, well, I don't know if it's traditionally sweet because I've had it both ways, but I make mine kind of sweeter. It's almost like teriyaki in a way, like it's vinegary, it's garlicky, it's salty. It's almost like a teriyaki style sauce, and then it's typically eaten over rice, like kind of saucy. But I make the dry adobo, which is when it's done cooking, you then cook the liquid until the liquid is completely evaporated. And then you almost shred it and then kind of crisp it up a little bit. So like adobo flakes. I like regular adobo, but I love dry adobo. So good. I think Rachel's probably going to see this and be like, she'll either say good job or she'll be like, oh no, honey, that's not how you do it. And I believe I brought it to work for some of my coworkers to try, and I think it was adobo, and they approved. So I forget who it was, but they said it tasted like authentic Filipino food, which was like the hugest compliment ever. Okay, so I start with a ton of garlic. I don't know if you can see this, all this garlic here I'm making. I have my garlic press. I put it on the sliced function, and I slice it into my pan. Okay. There. My pan is full of garlic now. Now I have to move on to my pork. I have 2 things of pork here I have to use. I use serrated knives because they're easier. Just cut it into, I'd say 2-inch cubes. So like cubes like this. This is gonna cook for, depends on how high of a temperature, but you like to cook it low for like 2 to 3 hours. So now I have my pan full of meat and garlic, and I crank it on high. I don't want to really brown it, I just want to kind of get it going. And then I add crushed red pepper flakes. As much or as little as you want. I don't want it that spicy because I'm like a wuss, but oh. I'm gonna sneeze. Now, some Filipinos use ginger in their adobo, some don't, but I like to use ground ginger. And then next I use a little bit of onion powder. I put raw onion in at the end, but it just gives it like a depth of flavor. And then just in case I didn't have enough garlic, I'm gonna add garlic powder to it. I love garlic. And I'm gonna add also a little bit of brown sugar because I'm gonna be adding vinegar and soy sauce, so I want it to be a little bit sweet. And some pepper. Okay, so now it's time for the more liquidy ingredients. I add a little bit of oyster sauce, just a little bit. One of my friends uses oyster sauce in her adobo, so I just do it in honor of her. And then I add soy sauce, not much because it can be pretty strong. And then water. I have water in here. You want enough liquid to almost cover it. Vinegar. Excuse the ghetto giant containers. You can use white vinegar, apple vinegar. I'm gonna put a little bit more soy sauce. And then this is optional, but the Filipinos that I've talked about use this. It's pretty much MSG, I'm not gonna lie right now. But that's what they like to use in their food, and I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, it tastes good. It tastes good with it in there. So mix that up. Still on high right now, because I just want my liquid to come to a boil and then I'll turn it down low. And then, most importantly, bay leaves. That's one of the main flavors. So I add usually 5 or 6 in here. Make sure you keep track of how many you put in just so that you can take it out. Maybe I'll add 7. So 7 bay leaves. I'm just using the dried ones. Work those down in there. Make sure they're buried and so that they can flavor everything. The smell of bay leaves reminds me of my grandma. Her house always smelled like that. So yeah, now you leave it on high for a second until it comes back up to a boil. And once it's at a boil, you turn it down to medium or medium-low, and you put a lid on it, and that's it for now. Okay, so it's been about 2 hours, and as you can see, all the liquid has absorbed into my pork. It's perfectly tender. It breaks under my fork. It's completely cooked through. So, you can also see that I have some of this fat that's left over from the pork, and that's what I'm going to use to crisp it up. So I didn't need to add any oil because there was enough oil in the pork that now it's rendered out. I have my rice cooking away here, and I have onions chopped up. What I'm going to do now is just take my spoon. I took out my bay leaves. They're right there. So I'll just take my spoon and go through this and break up and shred all of this pork until it's all shredded up and no longer in big chunks. And then I'm just gonna let the shreds of pork kind of fry and get crispy. Okay, and then once your pork is broken up and shredded as much as you'd like, and I'm just gonna add the onions. I just sliced up some onions and shredded them, or separated them. Then you kind of just stir them in, and as the pork is crisping up, the onions will kind of soften a little. You kind of want the bite of not raw onion, but you don't want the onions to be too cooked. This is why you add it at the end versus right at the beginning. It's kind of like a contrast. They will cook down and they'll get a little brown as the meat browns, but you don't want them to disintegrate too much, which is kind of why you add them at the end. So now you can turn your stove up to oh, sorry about the fog. Turn it up to medium-high. And don't worry if there's still some chunks, because as you're stirring it up, it will also break up even more. So yeah, I'm just gonna continue to fry it until it gets nice and crispy. My rice is on its way. Oh, it smells so good. My house smells so good right now. Yum, yum. So here it is. So you take your rice and you put your adobo. It's gonna burn your mouth.
Nope.
Excuse me, my oven's dirty now, or my stove. Didn't say I was a clean cook, I just said I was a cook. Not even a cook. Yeah, Terry loves adobo.
Oh.
And if you want, this is optional. And these are cat meds, by the way, we're not druggies. Just our cats are druggies.
Ours are hidden.
If you want, you can put this on your adobo. I do. It's kind of sweet and garlicky. It's like, I don't even know. I honestly don't know what's in it. Terry just likes salt and pepper, but sometimes I like to put this on to break up the richness. It's called mang tamas. I wish I knew what was in it. Water, sugar, breadcrumbs, vinegar, salt, onions, garlic, pepper. I don't know, it's really weird, but it's delicious. So yeah, we're gonna eat and we're gonna watch Sinister. And yeah, thanks for joining me on my cooking adventure. I'm so hungry now. Let's eat some food. Cheers.